Hello and welcome to another episode review for Nijigasaki, this being episode 8. I'm Callan.
I'm Honey Panda Bunny. Overall, I found the episode really intriguing. We got to see a different side of Shizuku, and the way the problem of the episode was represented felt unique and interesting. I was constantly wondering, who was this dark Shizuku? Was it her true self? Or was it a darker side of herself that she didn't want to accept?
So I thought this was a really fun and creative episode that ended up fitting Shizuku quite nicely. It didn't have the raw emotions of, say, Rina's episode, but what was here was really good, and I did like that it let us get a deeper look into Shizuku's character. Going into the episode, I thought it would be more about her being pulled between the two clubs, the idol club and the drama one, as I thought that had been teased in the first two episodes. Here we got something much more personal, and having a look how Shizuku sees herself, and even the inner workings of her mind. And while I wouldn't say that this episode raised my opinions of Shizuku greatly, I did appreciate what was here, and I do think that I do like her more for that. Of course, any episode with Kasumi having a major role, I'm going to end up enjoying a lot. Kasumi and Rina were both great here, and they both played an integral role that only those two I felt could have. And while it would have been nice to see some of the other characters have more of a role than just being in the background, I think focusing on a core cast of characters for this episode was actually a good call.
I really liked this beginning where the two sides of Shizuku fight. It felt theatrical and an interesting way to express her turmoil. We also got the line "the ideal heroine," which is a cute nod to her first song.
Yeah, there's a lot of references not only to her first song, Riso Heroine, but also later on we'll see some references to Audrey as well. Similar to Audrey, as in the song, you could spend hours talking about the meaning of everything in this episode, in particular the two aspects of Shizuku's personas talking on stage, and I thought it was such a great idea that this is the inner workings of Shizuku's mind, and it was such a great framing device to see her inner monologue. Later on we find out that this has been inspired by the play that she performs at the end, so dialogue that she uses in her mind was that being adapted from the stage play, and she was incorporating it into her own thoughts and feelings.
You could also say it perfectly matches with her love of theatre, because of course she'd feel so deeply about a play and be able to experience it firsthand because it's something she loves so deeply.
And it even references the Audrey as in getting lost in the role as well, that as she's trying to learn and go through her own feelings throughout the episode, is she's almost trying to merge that with how she'll perform on stage.
It was really cute being able to see all of the girls have their photo shoot and have a little moment to shine. And then obviously it goes into having Shizuku's interview where she's discussing what kind of idol she'd like to be as well as the person that she wants to perform. Which was really interesting to see her almost act like an idol instead of genuinely feeling like she wants to be an idol. The use of wording was really interesting here for me.
It's interesting because she treats it as a role in a play and almost becoming that role of being a school idol. It's how she describes it to the interviewer, is that she wants to be an idol that everyone loves, and how she will do that is she'll envision what the ideal school idol is for everyone, and then she will become that, taking on that role in the play. Initially she has the main part in the play, but then we find out later with her senpai that she's actually lost the role because she doesn't feel that she's putting enough of herself into the role to be able to succeed. This festival with two groups, it's from another academy called Toho Academy, which will become a little bit more relevant towards the end of the episode. And with losing the role, this naturally affects Shizuku, and we see that start to take a toll on her a little bit, and Kasumi's the first one that notices. This makes sense. Kasumi's the closest to Shizuku.
I mean, in the beginning we see her confiding in Shizuku as well when she's got her issues with the school idol club being closed, obviously.
I actually really like that Kasumi notices it, but then later on when Shizuku's put on that mask, everything's back to normal. But then later on, her and the rest of the first years, Rina and her friends that she made in her episode, they all start talking about it, about what could be up with Shizuku, and then the first year girls mention that she's the one that lost the role in the main play and that there's going to be a new audition.
It was really nice seeing these girls come back as well, because it really makes it feel like everything that's happened in the series is here to stick and it does mean things.
It is nice that we have this continuity and that these characters have not just been dropped or disappeared. Kasumi and Rina proceed to abduct Shizuku. Kasumi grabs her, featuring Shizuku board.
It was very cute. It did give me a very good laugh when Rina put the board over her and she's like, I can't see.
Yeah, it was very hilarious. And then we cut to a great montage of them going around Venus Fort. What's really cool as well is we'd already seen Venus Fort a little bit in the last episode with Kanata's performance, and then in this episode we get to see a bit more of it, which I think is really cool, is that we're really exploring Odaiba.
I also think that it really suits really well with Shizuku because the whole place looks like a theatrical theatre almost.
Well, Venus Fort, I believe, is based off Western architecture, so definitely it is something that would have that atmosphere that Shizuku would appreciate.
So yeah, it totally fits with her, so it makes sense she'd spend a lot of this time around Venus Fort.
And also we get the rainbow pancakes,
they
which
look
is
very tasty.
Something that Kasumi's lost to every time, but this time she has backup in the other two girls, and this time they get the win. They do their best to cheer up Shizuku throughout all of this montage, and I love these three. It's a great dynamic, the trio, and if we do get a second season, I would definitely like to see this kind of montage again, maybe featuring a certain fangirl if she ever makes an appearance.
I also liked that Rina had her board in this as well, and it felt very natural as well. It didn't feel very forced.
Yeah, she uses her board a lot more in this episode than the last one.
And then we see Shizuku getting excited over a dog, which looks like Ophelia, and I was like, that's so me, I love it.
So we see Shizuku looking at a poster of, I'm assuming, is a play called Audrey, which is obviously a reference to her song. And Rina's the one that notices and goes over to talk to Shizuku, and they have a little heart-to-heart.
It felt really nice having these two characters open up and discuss their dislike of themselves. It feels like a very mature conversation that a lot of teenagers go through and we don't really see very often talked about. And it was nice to have Rina be the one to open up about it, because obviously we know that Kasumi has her self-doubt issues as well, but having Rina, who directly has just had an episode about this, being able to discuss this with Shizuku and see it earlier on, I think helped Shizuku open up, because obviously Shizuku and the gang helped Rina, so it's tenfold helping back.
Rina has she has history with self-criticism and wearing masks, and she can very easily pick up on Shizuku's unusual demeanour. Rina doesn't serve as an important role in this episode as Kasumi does. She does provide a vital element that Kasumi can't, and it's seen in this conversation where Shizuku is mentioning her interests of movies and plays, and this being unusual in her eyes, and her not wanting to. She confides in Rina in a way where she says, when I'm acting, I feel I can forget that I'm Shizuku. This rings with Rina. She understands this feeling. Obviously, she mentions her unusual interest in movies, and she's worried that if she was to portray her true self, that this would turn people away from her. Kasumi jumps in, they both try and cheer her up for the audition, but Shizuku instantly puts the mask back on and she runs away essentially.
When Shizuku runs away and discusses, I can't tell anyone, can't express it feels like she's not only sad about what's going on along with losing the role and kind of losing herself or not wanting to show herself. It might also be that she's really upset here because she realised that Kasumi caught on that she's upset, and she was, I can't even act to pretend that I'm happy. I've been seen through that act as well, let alone what I'm going on, which might have made an even bigger turmoil for her there.
So we come to the next day with Kasumi and Rina having lunch. Shizuku's not responding to them. Find out later as well that Shizuku's closed in on herself. But during this scene, and I actually really like it because Rina essentially spells out the problem to Kasumi. Kasumi can understand that something's wrong, but she doesn't really have the history of this. Not that Kasumi's not smart, but she's not as well versed in it, and Rina's the one who's able to spell it out for her. I really love that the three had the montage, and I think they have great dynamics, but all three of them actually have something in common, which is the idea of concealing a part of themselves. Rina uses her board as a way to project her true feelings. Kasumi is actually very self-conscious of herself, which is why she puts on the cute act. And then obviously in this episode we confirm that Shizuku is masking herself. She's trying to conceal herself so that people won't judge her for her interests.
It was interesting to see Rina offer the perspective on the situation that, like you said, Kasumi couldn't quite understand. She helped her realise that she needed a friend more than anything, and Rina is still overcoming her issues. I think that Rina felt like it would feel a little bit dishonest going and helping Shizuku when she's still not over hers fully, obviously, with having to use the mask and so forth. So she comes to the opening of Kasumi can be the one that helps, because Kasumi is the one that was able to notice that something was wrong with Shizuku straight away. So there's that bond there and that care there.
And we do see that just before Kasumi goes to confront Shizuku, Rina goes on to check on how the rest of the club's doing, and we see that they're working on Shizuku's dress for the audition.
Yes, we see Emma working on the necklace with everyone, and then we also see you writing something, which is really interesting.
Yes, which will be revealed later. Scene in the classroom, which is amazing. I love the lighting, the way it's staged, it just brings up the scene, and the dialogue in it is also really, really good. Shizuku at the start is upset, she's in tears, and then Kasumi busts in. She proceeds to do the most Kasumi thing ever, and Kasumi does manage to get through to Shizuku in such a direct, almost clumsy, honest way that only she could do. Tells her outright, what do you feel about me? She tells her, am I cute, am I not cute? And then she proceeds to give her genuine feelings on Shizuku, the good parts and the bad parts. And she has this awkward confession, essentially. In the end, actually ends up embarrassing her and running away in such a comical way. But it leaves Shizuku in tears, but now this is tears of happiness and laughter. It was such a mature thing for Kasumi to do. But it doesn't portray her character. This is how Kasumi can best get her feelings across, and I love it. So honest and almost embarrassing. It's so true to herself. It's how she truly would feel, and it just makes me love Kasumi even more. Kasumi and Shizuku as a pairing has never been my preference. This episode has helped me see the appeal of it.
We finally get to see, obviously, Shizuku be completely honest with someone. So we saw her be honest with Rina earlier about disliking herself, but we didn't see her fully open up, I don't think. But here we see her fully open up with Kasumi and describe her fears and her loves and be raw and honest with how she's feeling, to the point of closing in on herself, crippling herself. She's met with acceptance and love, which is exactly what she needed. She was told, who cares if you're liked or hated, because I will always love you. I'll love even the stubborn parts of you, which is, I think, something she needed. Someone that will honestly be there and care for her no matter what.
So with Shizuku feeling revitalised, that she can now truly be herself to other people, and on the next day as well, when the two schools are uniting for this festival, two girls from the School Idol Festival.
So we see Himeno Ayano Koji and Misaki Shido, and it was really nice to see some more end cards and make the world feel a bit more built up again.
Yeah, and this definitely, it feels this isn't just for this episode, this feels it might play a more important role in the upcoming episodes as well. After the talk with Kasumi, Shizuku's been able to break her mask, and she feels now that she's able to perform. Off screen, she's won the audition, and that she's now the main character again.
So we see her in her dressing room, and she has this board that's written, oh, good luck from everyone in the idol club, which is something that she obviously must have really needed as well. It's not only the fact that she obviously got Kasumi's care, but I think that push from everyone else also helped her as well, from the sideline.
And we see everyone in the crowd wishing her luck. Everyone's there to watch her. We see her start to perform on stage, and we see that how she monologued earlier was taken from the play, as the dialogue she said at the start of the episode is actually what starts the play off. We see a bit of the play, and then there's the black Shizuku that appears again, and we see that in the performance, she realises that the black Shizuku, her feelings aren't something that she should cut out, or that it's something that should disappear, but it's also a part of her. It's not something that she should reject. And in the play, and in her mind as well, she essentially merges both parts of herself, and then we get her song, Solitude Reign.
Her song was really nice. I liked a lot of the effects in the video as well. It was a good Shizuku song. It's really high up there. I'm not sure it's beat Audrey for me yet though. The rain effects in the video was really nice as well. It suits with her, obviously, her icon, which is the rain, so I've always seen her intertwined with that. And the outfit was really nice with it mixing together both sides, and then we see that grey in the middle. It feels very old-time movie-esque as well, because obviously those movies were always in black and white and those greys monotone. And we also see some of her all-star outfits. So many of her outfits here, and I believe we might have seen one of her ones as an end card as well.
Yeah,
but
it's her original end card.
Yeah, which was cute being able to see all those throwbacks.
I think that this song will unfortunately be a bit overlooked because we just had Butterfly, but this is still generally a really, really good song, and the imagery in it was breathtaking. And while I think Audrey is probably still my favourite Shizuku song, this sits comfortably at number 2 for me. Her voice actress has always been talented, and she gets to flex here again. Shizuku has always had the rain imagery, as you mentioned. It's even in her name, the teardrops, and from her name to even the play she was reading, it's all in full force here. The highlight easily being the bit where the rain freezes, but she's still dancing as she continues to perform. I love her presence in that it's almost like she's moving the play along with her actions, and we see that as her actions move, the theatre stage set essentially moves to the next scene. We get, as you said, nearly all her costumes, even her original end card. It's overall a really solid performance. performance, and I really enjoyed it.
We also see a lot of expression from her here as well in this song. I think it's the most expression we've got from anyone's face. We see this when she's hugging herself, this cheeky smile, and it felt so perfect for her to have this way of acting through her facial features as well.
It's essentially to show her development in this episode, where previously she was restraining herself. She was, as we've said repeatedly, putting the mask on, but this is where the mask has come off. She's now free to express who she truly wants to be in her performance, and that's naturally elevating her performance as well. After the performance, everyone gives a big cheer, and then we get the reveal that the dark Shizuku that was in the play was her senpai. I initially thought she was going to have a much larger role in this episode, but she did end up playing a key role in the end. And in a way, she was also another one who had a mask on, because as we saw in the previous scene, she had the serious drama president mask on, ensuring that the play had to be strong. Perfect. But secretly, she was naturally rooting for Shizuku in her own way.
It was really nice being able to see this. Kasumi have a super proud reaction where she's clapping super fast.
Yeah, it's like 10 times faster than anyone else.
And we see her senpai, and it was these two meaningful people in her life both get a moment embrace and enjoy this victory for Shizuku where she's overcome something, and they both get to experience this joy for her.
And then the episode ends full circle where she gets interviewed with the newspaper club again, and this time she says, "I want you to appreciate me for who I honestly am," and then the episode ends.
Well, and then after the episode ends, we get the two end cards from earlier coming and looking at the
We see that
clipping.
they've watched the performance, and we see their reaction. They're obviously impressed by Shizuku's performance, and then we see that they're looking at a photo of the Nijigasaki School Idol Club, and they mention, oh, they have an interest in the club as it zooms in on Karen. We see that in the next time Haruka's back, and obviously these girls will be appearing again. I'm wondering if that with all these groups taking an interest in Nijigasaki, whether we're potentially going to see a contest between some of the schools. Maybe not a Love Live, but like a mini tournament, which I think would be a nice little conclusion to the series.
It was also nice, there was a little clip of like Karen being confused at her phone, and I'm hoping that it's going to be a callback to the game where she's absolutely terrible at directions. But I'm super excited to see the next episode.
It's going to be interesting to see what Karen's role is going to be, because in the title it's friends but rivals, so obviously Karen's looking at it from a professional angle. Obviously we know she's a very successful model. How she treats that is how she'd treat being a school idol. If she's going to be a school idol, she wants to be the best school idol, and while she's friends with the rest, she treats them, each of them, as rivals. We see Emma, so maybe Emma will also have a role in the episode. We see her also interacting with Setsuna, so it's possible, because in the games Setsuna and Karen do have a little bit of a rivalry going on, so I'm wondering if that's going to be brought into this episode next week.
It was really interesting. I'm wondering if Karen, because you said with this potential of there maybe being performance battle.
It's just a theory.
Yeah, just a theory, yeah. It'll be interesting to see whether Karen gets an episode entirely to herself, or whether she's going to share it with this potential performance. Because obviously Emma shared her episode partly with Karen as well.
So I don't think the other girls are going to be a major part of the episode. I think that at the start of the episode, if they do, they're going to lay down the idea of a challenge, and then that's going to play out over the next 4 episodes. I think they're just there to lay the groundwork for it. Either way, I'll be excited for Karen's episode. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.